Welcome, Solidworks community. Over the years, we have achieved so much together. You have introduced game-changing new products. We have brought you many of the enhancements you have asked for. We are just about to release SolidWorks 2022, and I truly believe it is the best SolidWorks yet. I am excited for you to see many enhancements you can't live without once you try for yourself. And stick around for a glimpse into the 3D Experience Works portfolio. Broader, deeper than ever. The best part, you can start with the future today. So, sit back and enjoy a quick catch-up of SolidWorks features and enhancements over the last 5 years. And we look forward to seeing what you will do with SolidWorks 2022. Hello, SolidWorks community. SolidWorks 2022 is just around the corner. It features many enhancements to help you work smarter, work faster, and work together. We have focused on quality and robustness, so your tools are more reliable than ever. And of course, many new features you won't want to live without. Each year, you face new challenges. You rediscover the old ways of working are just not good enough. At SolidWorks, we agree. Each release, we make significant strides to improve the tools you trust. We also are transforming our ecosystem with our 3D Experience Works portfolio. You take what you already know and love with SolidWorks and supercharge it with all of the system-based technology. So you work smarter, work faster, work together. This year, we feature a long-time customer in the Netherlands. You bought Worx. This fall, they are launching their Nemo submarine. It is one of the most sophisticated pieces of underwater tech available to consumers. It's an award-winning, revolutionary design and personalized for individual use. We are so proud to be part of their innovation, as well as your next great project. For now, sit back and take in everything new in SolidWorks 2022 and the 3D Experience Works.
Welcome to SolidWorks Live, September 16th, 2021. In today's stream, you are going to see SolidWorks 2022 and the 3D Experience cloud platform in action. You're also going to learn a lot about the Nemo submersible. You and I are going to visit with 8 special guests. I can see them standing by in our virtual green room, and yep, everyone's muted. Thanks, everyone. Check in with you soon. I'm your host, Brian Zayas. I'm streaming at you from just outside of Chicago. Listen, as a diehard SolidWorks user, a longtime user, and a Dassault Systèmes employee, I can tell you it's going to be a no-brainer to upgrade to SolidWorks 2022. And with 3D Experience Worx, you'll be supercharged with the best of the best Dassault Systèmes technology. So we can work smarter, work faster, ultimately work together. So welcome everyone, whether you're joining us from YouTube, LinkedIn, trying to follow those chats, joining us from Instagram, live.solidworks.com. Take advantage of those platforms. You know, why don't you grab the URL, share it with your friends. And if you have a chat capability, why don't you throw up a 2022 if you're excited to be here today and excited for the show. Let us know if you're ready to dive in. Literally dive in. Because as you can see today, we're taking the studio underwater. We're not just celebrating the launch of SolidWorks 2022. In fact, we're also celebrating the launch of the Nemo submersible. Let's take a peek at this stunning design with SolidWorks Visualize. U-Boat Worx, they're a longtime customer based in the Netherlands. U-Boat Worx has a long lineage of submersibles for adventure, recreation, research, filmmaking. Just next week, literally next week, they are debuting their Nemo submersible, the model that you're seeing here. It's one of the most sophisticated and, frankly, I think elegant pieces of personal underwater craft available. And in fact, it was recognized with a 2021 Red Dot Award for Design Excellence, recognized as being the best in class transportation and mobility category. We're so proud to be part of their innovation. And whether you're launching or you're just learning, thank you so much for being here. We're so proud to be a part of your life and your career too. In the second half of this 90-minute stream, you're going to see a lot more of the Nemo as we dig into the demonstrations, design, visualization, validation. You're going to see it all. I'm also really excited to have the honor of having a special guest today from U-Boat Worx to talk about the Nemo design, Rob Walkers. He's the lead project engineer coming at us from the Netherlands. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. I have a giant list of questions. I don't know if I'm going to get to them all, but thank you so much for being here, Rob. We're also thrilled to have our SolidWorks CEO, Paolo BASSI. Buongiorno, sir. He's going to be sharing with you our vision of the future of design and how we're expanding access to SolidWorks to everyone out there who's watching. We're also going to have our Senior Director of R&D, Mr. John SWEENEY. He's going to share his thoughts on 2022 and leading that development effort. We're going to check in with Sean O'Neill. He's no stranger to the SolidWorks live stage. He's going to talk about the ways that you can connect with us as a brand and all the ways that he keeps us together as a community. Last, certainly not least, my team of demo crew. Mark, Jordan, Andrew, Michael, thank you so much for being here. Some of the cornerstones of our team who make this amazing content and present it for you this year. They'll be in the second half of this 90-minute program. It's going to be fast-paced. I bet we'll go a few minutes over. So let me take the moment now to thank everyone at Kramer behind the scenes for making our show possible. I also want to thank Cliff, Sarah, and Ian on our marketing team. They're behind the scenes watching the chat. Please give them a shout out, let them know you're there, and hey, let us know if you like what you see. Of course, none of us would be here if it weren't for you, our SolidWorks community, and our shared excitement for what's new each year. Now, what's new is a lot more than just a special edition of SolidWorks Live. For us, it's an entire season. You know, we kick this season off this week, and it continues through the fall. Into October, our partners have live and virtual and hybrid events, and the release of 2022 SP0 on November 23rd. Now, a great What's New season has 3 main ingredients. First of all, brand leadership. whether it's SolidWorks CEO and leadership, or it's our Dassault System R&D team, right? Every single release, it's a better user experience, it's better performance, and it's deeper capabilities. Second most important ingredient, the community, you, power users, students, our reseller community who invests so much to make this season so special. Thank you everyone for being here, and make sure you tune in with your partner in a couple weeks when they start their What's New events. Third most important ingredient, I guess they can't all be most important, very partial to this one. Every year we get the chance to celebrate a special customer and tell their story and bring it to life as we demonstrate for you what's new. So this year, like you've seen, we're so excited to feature the story of the U-Boat Worx and the Nemo. Good comment here. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Dheeraj, SolidWorks changed my life. Me too. For 20 years, I've been a SolidWorks user. And let me introduce our first guest. Let's get into the program. Joining me virtually from SolidWorks headquarters in Waltham, Massachusetts, Paolo BASSI. Hey, GP, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, can you, Brian?
I hear you just fine. Hey, thanks for taking time out of your busy day to join us. I know you got a lot going on, but I know you love talking to the community. We decided to kick things off with a big question, which is, what is our vision of the future of design, and how are you going to help our users embrace that?
Okay, first of all, welcome to all the audience. I'm very excited to be here with you. And of course, Brian, you put me on the spot with a very big question.
Big one up front.
So I may have a question for you. How much time do I have? I know not too much, because we have amazing things coming up. Let me give you a short version of what we think the future of design is. And I dare say that SolidWorks has been leading the pack in innovation, which essentially is seeing what's coming up and being always earlier in the evolution of design. I think what we see coming are three mega trends. And these trends inform our development and investment philosophy. So these three mega trends are, first of all, the ubiquity of design. So design is definitely viewed by everybody right now, more and more people, as the creative force of the future. You know, design thinking is everywhere. And this implies inclusivity. So a lot of people are interested more and more in design thinking. So that is one big trend. The other one is a new word, which is sustainability, which increases the complexity of design. We need to be able to build for ourselves a sustainable future. The first time we start thinking about these things and putting them as part of a design. And the third and probably most important one is the fact that science informs design more and more. I'm talking about data science, material science, simulation. You see amazing stuff here on the screen as I speak. In order to make all these visualization possible, you need to infuse the science into design. And at the end, this is what dictates our axis of innovation. What are we doing? And I would say that our innovation is happening along three highways. One is integration. Everything has to be integrated. Everything has to have a common language. This is, by the way, the spirit of Industry 4.0, data continuity, digital integration, digital continuity. And the other one is automation. Automation is very important, and is not only about automation of production processes, but is automation of the design itself, automation of the optimization thinking that everybody designer do. Computers can do much better now, and you see an example right now on the screen. And of course, simulation. I said that science is infusing design, and simulation is the first and foremost characteristics to improve and enhance design, because at the end, designers need to understand better what is the behavior, and not only the behavior, the classic stress and strain, but also behavior in extreme conditions like heat, cold, or flow, and even simulation of the behavior of materials. You know, when you do sintering operation, which is the metal 3D printing, you need to have a deep understanding of these capabilities. So again, what we do is integration, automation, and simulation.
Wow, those three plus the first two. I mean, you have so much in your mind. It's really cool to see what's on your next horizon. I mean, it's so much more than CAD, and I think that's really the heart of what 3D Experience Works is all about. So, tell us, what is 3D Experience Works? What does it have to do with the future?
It's very simple, Brian. So, SolidWorks has identified itself and still does with our award and most successful, probably, design product. But design, as I said, is changing. These megatrends are putting us on a path of widening the scope of what we do. And therefore, we changed the name of our portfolio. We say SolidWorks, the brand, is focusing on a much wider portfolio of capabilities right now. And we call it 3D Experience Works. And why? Because it covers 5 domains. One is design, which is our roots, our DNA, simulation, manufacturing, data management, all the way into marketing and sales.
So that's a lot, and it's at the DNA of every product, and we're going to hear from Rob all about bringing the Nemo to life. Maybe we can zoom back into today's topic, 2022. Gianpaolo, what's your favorite part of SolidWorks 2022?
Yeah, as usual, Brian, you and I have had this conversation and with the users for a long time. It is always my obsession to be excellent in 2 things: performance and scalability. Why? Yes. Because the nature of design is becoming increasingly complex. Okay, scalability means also extending into multidisciplines. You know, we show the path with the ability to put together electrical, electronic, and mechanical design. This is so performance and scalability are my favorite, and of course the ability of expand SolidWorks into the 5 domains that I mentioned before. The ability of the team that will testify live today of integrating and expanding the SolidWorks into the 5 domains of 3D Experience Works.
And of course, to me, that's 3D Experience SolidWorks, out of the box, integrated, ready for those domains. Way of making our best technology available for everyone. Gianpaolo, one topic I did want to touch on is we have so many viewers here from, commercial users, students, hobbyists. Like, how are we expanding availability of SolidWorks to more people? Well,
as you know, Brian, we have introduced at the beginning of the year, we have announced at the beginning of the year, and we have introduced, as promised on the market during the summer, 2 new versions of 3D Experience Works for students and makers that we believe at a very affordable price makes our technology available to these categories of our ecosystem. And because we truly believe that technology can inspire people to change the world and to make for us a better world. So what is the best thing for us to do? Give this technology, these tools to as many people as possible. And I believe that this program for makers and students is what we are doing. In addition to that, as you know, 3D Experience Works makes the most of the mobile capability of modern software. So makers and students will be able to bring their ideas everywhere, anytime on any device, thanks to our mobility capabilities that we have introduced with 3D Experience Works.
I love it. And Sean O'Neill's here. He's going to remind us a little bit about 3D Experience SolidWorks for makers. You mentioned students. Gianpaolo, I've been using SolidWorks 20 years now. Okay, my undergraduate first class was SolidWorks designing a pizza cutter. It was so hard. Thinking about those kids who are in middle school, high school, we see them using SolidWorks today. What are they going to need as engineers, designers of the future? What are we doing to prepare them for the next generation of design?
Yes, Brian, I think I am very convinced that kids now are mastering the fundamentals of modern design, which is a 3D parametric context using simulation and manufacturing. So the multidisciplinary approach is extremely important for the workforce of the future. But there are new categories. They need to be proficient in automation. they need to be proficient in collaboration. They need to be able to and to know how to manage a supply chain. Today, agility of all these categories is extremely important. So kids now need to focus not only on the traditional sectors of learning, which of course is the parametric design, 3D, the 3D environment, which has proven to be very effective to improve quality and innovation, and of course integrate it with simulation. But they need to be masters of Industry 4.0, which is about the digital continuity and the ability to create value networks to make things happen.
Gianpaolo, it's always inspirational to hear you speak. I wish we had more time. I want to ask you just one last question. What inspires you?
Brian, the things that most inspires me is the work of our customers. And you see today on the screen, and will be interviewed later, Rob of You Bought Worx. I mean, this type of imagination and deeply infused by highly designed thinking. This is what is inspiring me, the creativity, the ingenuity, the imagination, and also the goodwill, the real strong intention of all the people that I talk to really create a better world for all of us. This is highly inspiring for me. And of course, the more I have the chance, we have the chance to talk to our customers, the more we get inspired. And I would like to remind everybody that one of my favorite events to make it happen is our annual gathering in 3D Experience World.
Oh, yeah.
And the next one will be in Atlanta, Georgia, is 6 to 9 of February. And it will be in person again. I am really happy to celebrate and announce that we want to make this event in person. However, we will also have a digital companion where we will be streaming, but also actively involving the remote participants. So it is a 3D Experience World for everybody, and I would like everybody to be in Atlanta or connect if they cannot.
If you've never been to a World, you have to come. You will fill up an entire notebook of information or share your expertise. So it's a great way to get involved, Gianpaolo. I can't wait to hang out with you there in Atlanta. There's a URL on the screen, 3dexperienceworld.com. Save the date. Make it worthwhile, and let us know if you need help convincing your boss. It's such a great time. Gianpaolo, I can't wait to see you there. I'm going to mosey on down the hall in Waltham and pick on one of your team next. I want to introduce John SWEENEY. He's our Senior Director of SolidWorks Research and Development. Hey, John, can you hear me okay?
Hey, Brian. Yep, I can hear you.
Hey, so Gianpaolo just mentioned World. It's going to be in person, but it's hybrid. We're in this weird environment right now. Tell us about developing SolidWorks 2022, because I'm thinking your team must have been all remote during this development. How did you lead that?
Yeah, it was a mixture. We have some offices reopening now, but it's been, we actually finished off the second half of last year's development, SolidWorks 2021, and the release of 3D Experience SolidWorks all remotely. So that was probably more of a challenge because it was new to everybody. Our IT team did a fantastic job getting everybody set up to work at home. So it was, monumental, challenge. And now we kind of have our feet under us. I think we're fairly efficient now, working from home remotely with all the different environments we have to test and code in. So yeah, we're getting under it, but the offices are reopening, which is nice.
Yeah, I got to travel over to Waltham last month. It was great to see everyone there and using the conference rooms again. You mentioned last year, in fact, you were on our SolidWorks Live program a year ago talking about 2021. And one thing you mentioned, I know it resonated, struck a chord with our users, was how much time and effort your team has spent on quality. So what have you guys spent time on in 2022? More of the same?
A similar balance this year. A lot of quality and performance stuff. More projects for tighter integration to the platform, and a lot of enhancements. Yep, it's a similar balance.
And that's kind of the unsung hero. I mean, every user here, I'm sure we'd agree, we love seeing the demos, and everyone stay tuned. We're going to see a ton of them, but we all appreciate when I can use SolidWorks day in, day out. It's faster, it's stable, it's just working. So thank you for all you're doing under the hood. And I think you guys have had a pretty big multi-year initiative to make the software as bulletproof as it can be.
Yeah, so we showed this graphic last year. So this is a 3-year initiative to drive down our backlog of customer bugs. So you can see the different severities there and kind of how they map to what you guys might perceive.
So not just the easy ones, you're focusing on the most important first.
Well, yeah, I mean, the ones that are most important to the customer. So some of it's interpretation, right? We need to, you guys, give us a bug and we have to interpret the criticality and how big a deal it is to other customers as well. So, we try to categorize bugs as best we can and stay on top of them.
And you mentioned last year you showed this slide and we updated it because, like you said, you're coming up on 3 years trying to get this software as perfect as possible. And your graphic looks like it's going pretty well, huh? Yeah. So I teased Brian on this graphic because it's not very, it's a stylized graphic. We have actual dashboards that show, the data points along it. But it literally looks like this. We're driving down a 90% reduction, and the target is the end of this year. So you can see here we are on track. We've stayed pretty much on track the whole time, which is fantastic. The team's doing a good job. And the one thing I'll say that you may not take away is obviously a customer sees their bug fix, they get their bug fix, which is great. But the side benefit, not so obvious, is that internally on our side, the dev and QA managers will now be familiar with every bug that's on their plate. So there's a huge benefit to that as something comes in and we can prioritize it and know right away, is this an issue that other people are going to see, for example. Hey, it's the less glamorous side, but you know what? Everyone watching, throw a 2022 in the chat if you really appreciate us spending time. Let John know you like us spending the time making the software as great as possible.
Yeah, now, certainly if you guys have issues, we want to hear about them, right? So don't keep it to yourself. Don't assume that other people are reporting issues if you have something. Sometimes it is model specific or workflow specific, and those are the hard ones for us to fix if we don't know about them.
I'll tell you, John, we've been in 2022 as a team for months now. And one thing we noticed using the Nemo, and by the way, the Nemo is about 7,000 components. It's over 6,000 bodies. And just out of the box, 2022 looks like the frames per second were about 11% faster. And I know your R&D team shared some benchmarks internally, seeing 30-40% improvement in frames per second. Tell us a little more about that, because I know graphics and rendering of the CAD environment, something your team's been working on several years. Maybe tell us a little more about that and what you did this year specifically.
Yeah, sure. It's been 5 years of re-architecture of the render pipeline. Wow. We released it a few years ago. So if you're on an old version of SolidWorks, it's a dramatic performance improvement. And the nice thing to kind of see from my standpoint, 11% is not a mind-blowing improvement for this model here, but it shows that we have done the majority of the work. We are taking full advantage of the GPU at this point. We've flushed out, the majority of performance that we can. It's running really high performance, and we're into the finer things, the smaller details. In this case, we're pretty sure that this is from the silhouette edges improvements made this year. So silhouette edges are rendered now on the GPU. So again, some of the smaller, more specific kind of enhancements, 3D textures is another one we did this year. Those will be much faster. So again, finer details. It's nice to have this out there and in our customers' hands for sure.
I know everyone appreciates it. John, specific to 2022, now we're going to see some demos soon, but any favorites in 2022 you'd like to highlight?
Well, yeah, similar to Gianpaolo, I love the performance stuff. I love, who doesn't like performance? So there's some very good performance things. LDR mode, so you can open up a subassembly and keep it in LDR. Yes. A nice little workflow. The detailing mode, if you haven't used detailing mode, it's a fantastic, powerful tool for detailing your drawings. And we continue to build that out. It's the 3rd year. You can now add standard views to your drawing. You can add whole tables. And so that's, again, just building out a lot of the performance stuff that we've been working on over the couple of years. And then just, there's a lot of nice enhancements, small delighters like the command search. Command search is now on your shortcut.
This is already a team favorite, I got to tell you. And everyone out there, give us a S in the chat if you're an S key user. So what'd you guys do this year?
Yeah, the S key is fantastic, and it's been there, but now it's more in your face, right in front of you, more obvious to everybody. And then there's lots of other stuff. Hybrid modeling. So mesh modeling we added around 2018, SOLIDWORKS 2018, and we're continuing to build that out every year. So it's truly, mesh modeling is truly a different paradigm compared to what most people are familiar with, which is BREP solid modeling. And now in 2022, it's a much more integrated modeling. You can have two different, the mesh as well as the solid model, and be doing cutting operations, for example, extrudes and booleans and stuff.
There's so much to see. We're going to see a snapshot of the demos. This is a good appetizer. John, the themes this year for development of 2022: work smarter, work faster, work together. We saw some examples of smarter and faster. What about work together? What does that mean to you? What resonates with you on that theme?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples for each, but working together, it could mean a lot of things, right? It's data access and sharing, it's collaboration on topics or projects, or it could be the tools, right? Working together with the manufacturing team or the simulation team. So we are trying to put all those things at your fingertips. John Paolo alluded to it earlier. 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS. That's the whole goal, is to take the SOLIDWORKS that everyone loves and integrate it as tightly as we can with all these fantastic collaboration and other tools, apps and tools.
All right. Well, 2022, like I mentioned earlier, it'll be released at SP0, November 23rd. What's next on your radar?
I think, honestly, a lot of more of the same. We actually had our 2023 SOLIDWORKS 2023 kickoff this past Monday.
Okay.
So the speccing is done. The development starts on Monday. So we're up and running with a lot more, integration into the platform. Trying to, again, it's not. We've come to kind of take the tack that Gian Paolo mentioned earlier, that it's not just about 3D design. It's not just about the CAD. It's about all the other things that I just mentioned, collaboration and, data management and simulation and manufacturing, and getting all those things at our customers' fingertips. It's exciting. It's exciting to be, opening up this whole new world of apps on the platform and giving it to our users in as clean a way as we possibly can.
So coming on this show, it's almost like a time machine going back a year when you were thinking about 2022. Now you're into 2023. I really hope, John, you can join us a year from now. So keep your notes on 2023, because we'll ask you the same questions, and I can't wait. But first, 2022. John, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and best of luck with the planning and kicking off your development cycle. We can't wait to see what's next.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Brian.
Hey, everyone in the audience, I know you're antsy for demos. We're going to have a ton of those. I see all the S key, shortcut key users out there. By the way, there's a new shortcut key this year. It doesn't happen every year. Mark Peterson will share that with you. We heard from our brand leadership what's on their mind for the next horizon, the next horizon. I think that's really important to set the stage, right? Let's pivot to community. Such an important part of who we are. Gian Paolo talked about the ways that we're extending access to SOLIDWORKS to more and more of the community. Now I want to introduce our next guest, Sean O'Neill. He lives and breathes SOLIDWORKS and community. He leads several programs that help get you involved with SOLIDWORKS and keep us all together as a community. Hey, Sean, are you there?
I'm here. I hear you loud and clear. I see everyone loud and clear in the chat. You guys are giving us some awesome puns for this, this data set.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch the chat, but it's too entertaining. But I'll glance at it here while you share with us about community. Sean, first and foremost, what does community have to do with what's new?
Brian, so much, right? You think about the software, beta testing, enhancement requests. You think about the visits that R&D does all around the year with our customers to inform what goes into the what's new. But even if you zoom out a bit, I've always looked at the what's new and launch seasons as sort of microcosm, like sort of a microcosm of the SOLIDWORKS community itself, right?
Yeah.
There's these pillars, right? It's like there's these pillars of learning and togetherness. And that's really what the SOLIDWORKS community is all about too, right? We actually have a page that we've built for you guys that we wanted to plug. No matter your age or level of experience, no matter where you are, you can get involved in the SOLIDWORKS community today. Check that out. After the stream, of course, you have some great demos coming up. SOLIDWORKS.com/community, and that's your one-stop shop for that.
Yeah, everyone out there watching, I know most of you just watching casually, but you got to get involved.
Absolutely.
It's such a fun time. There's so much of the future that we want you to be the first ones to see. Now, Gianpaolo talked about this, makers. You were on SolidWorks Live just last month talking with Jeremy about 3D Experience SolidWorks for makers. I think we better remind folks, what is that all about? Can you give me your elevator pitch for that?
That's right. I was just here, right, with Jeremy. So 3D Experience SolidWorks for makers, GP talked about it a little bit, earlier in this stream. But really what this is about bringing the community together, making it larger, right? Making these design tools, our best design tools, right? Like GP mentioned, available to, lifelong makers, SolidWorks users who are looking to get into personal projects, right? Or if you're just looking to get into CAD for the first time. So it's a bundle that includes 3D Experience SolidWorks Professional, 3D Creator, and 3D Sculptor, all for the super low price for those personal projects of $99 a year.
And I saw in the chat, someone's like, I love Visualize in the Maker. And that's true. You said 3D Experience SolidWorks Professional, which includes Visualize Connected and all the renderings of the Nemo and the explode animations. Those are all done with SolidWorks Visualize by Mike Sandy on our team. So what an amazing tool, amazing offer. I want to talk more about community, but yeah, so everyone knows that's super exciting for us. First thing I think of, community, top of my list, user groups. I love going to the Chicago area user group. Denny Ball leads that. What have user groups been up to lately? Can you give us a quick update?
Oh, absolutely, right. So if you're in the live chat now, you may have been in a recent live chat, right, for Slug Me 6, which is led by so many of you that I see in the chat. Most primarily, Todd Blackshear, Cam Smith, Eric Beatty, and of course Dan Wagner, who does a great job leading our user group network here at SolidWorks. 24 hours straight, right, of presentations. It was insane, as was the chat. So that we will have a playlist on the SolidWorks YouTube that goes through all of those presentations very soon. So be sure to subscribe to the SolidWorks YouTube. But year round, right, we have that learning piece, that togetherness piece in the user group network. If you're interested in joining a group, we have local chapters, we have groups that have many meetings virtually.
Yep.
So no excuse, right?
No excuse.
So you can learn what's new or learn what's new to you. So you can join a group today, or if you feel so compelled, even lead one in your area. So you can go to swuggen.org to find out all of that.
Yeah, and if you get involved with a user group, it's a great chance to present, get a chance on stage. And I think some of the best user group meetings are when user comes up and just pulls open on their laptop what they've been working on and says, hey, here's how I worked through that fillet that wouldn't blend, or here's how I use the multi-body over here. Like, that's how everyone learns. That's real life. It's so amazing. We did have a question come in from Besnick about configuration tables. I'll let Mark Peterson handle that, but no. Excel-based configuration tables not going away. We've just enhanced it to have the option to use an integrated version. So I just thought I'd answer that right now. I know we're all antsy to learn more about it, but let's talk a little bit more about how we do learn about what's new in 2022, how we do become successful with each new release, not just user groups, right?
Right. So user groups are going year round. There's tons of different topics you can learn about and tons of people you can learn. Tons of people you can get to know. Our global launch events, which are held by our VARs, that's a great way to do that, especially this time of year during launch season, right? So we have VARs all over the world giving presentations locally on the what's new content, as well as some virtually. And we've set up this find an event portal that gives you a way, again, that sort of one-stop shop experience to find out an event that's going on near you in a time that is convenient for you, right? So if you go to solidworks.com/SW2022_live events, you can check that out today.
Slug Me 6, one of the best all-nighters of my life. Yeah. That's absolutely right. And yeah, check out these events. Listen, we only have an hour left today, and we're only going to tease you with some of our highlights when we get to the demos. You got to go to your local partner event. I mean, these folks spend so much time putting together amazing live virtual. A lot of them are going to be doing hybrid events this year, so definitely check that out. All right, Sean, so once we're involved, maybe we're getting into the workforce, we want to differentiate ourselves. Tell us about the certification program. It's another way to be involved, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the underpinning of so much of what we do here at SolidWorks, so we have to give it a shout out, right?
Yeah.
So if you've never been certified and you're looking to test your skills, all the great things you learn, at your jobs throughout the What's New season, all that, we have a lot of certifications that are purpose-built to test your knowledge in specific areas, right? Some of you might know that already. Some of you might already say, hey, I already have my CSWP. I might already have my CSWE, right? I have to say the certification team does an outstanding job of updating the certifications to sort of meet the what's new where it is, but also is coming out with new certifications to match the new products, a lot of which GP and John just spoke about, and some of which we'll see later, right? So you gotta check this link out.
Yeah, GP talked about the future. We need to know more than just CAD. I totally agree, and that's where we have new certifications. By the way, if you are a CSWE, raise your hand and throw us a CSWE in the chat. And congrats, because that's not the easiest test. No. So definitely challenge yourself to get that. If you don't have the A, get the A, get the P, get the E. It's such an amazing achievement, and I love seeing people feature that on even their LinkedIn title, CSWE. Absolutely, it's a differentiator.
Yeah, you got to be proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sean, once you're an expert, where do we connect online with other experts? Maybe start to share our knowledge?
Yeah, we talked about Slug Me 6. That was 24 hours straight of nonstop content. The great thing about digital communities is that they're 24/7, 365, right? Yep. So we have these two communities that serve specific purposes that you can access today. So we have the SolidWorks Connect community. You could think of that as a place to connect with the SolidWorks team, right? So you'll see a lot of posts from team members here at SolidWorks on, say, hey, here's a video featuring SolidWorks products that you might find interesting, or hey, here's a new product that we're launching fairly soon. And the best part is you can comment, you can like posts, you can give your input. So definitely check that out. That community is regularly updated. And then the SolidWorks user forum, we talked a lot about that aspect of learning and togetherness, right? And when we look at the SolidWorks user forum, that is a great place to ask questions, get your questions answered, or even something as simple as posting about the latest thinking model in SolidWorks that you wanted to show off, right? Because you should want to do that stuff. So definitely check these out.
Speaking of showing off, Mike Puckett, original CSWE author and #1. Okay, yeah. You are the master, but that's not fair to claim #1 when you wrote the exam. Legend, absolutely, Mike. Great to have you here in the stream. And get your CSWE, because Mike Puckett and his team puts on an amazing CSWE only event at World. You don't want to miss it. It's the best party, the best finger food and unlimited beer and activities and fun and drones flying, and the best memories. So definitely earn that. Show up at World. Okay, Sean, there's so many ways for people to get involved. These have been easy questions. We're just kind of reviewing some of the links that you already have on your community page. Here's a trickier question. What do you call someone who's certified, they've attended World, they go to their partner events, they're active in our communities, maybe a user group member or leader, they love SolidWorks, maybe the tattoo is a little bit far, I'm not going to go that far, they get involved in beta, they advocate for us on social media. What would you call this magical, mythical, perfect person who uses SolidWorks every day?
Man, when I look at this checklist, I might call that person a champion.
I like it. So a little bit of a newer program, but this is one of your top initiatives that you're leading inside SolidWorks, right? The SolidWorks Champion Program. Real quick, just tell us what's that about and how do you apply?
It's funny, Brian, when you showed that list, seeing all the great things that all of you do in the community really informed the requirements that we put on the Champions application, right? And the mission statement of the Champions program is to acknowledge and connect, community members from around the world who go above and beyond in sharing their SolidWorks passion and expertise. And so that connection piece, we want to connect you guys to each other. We have bi-weekly meetups where we get together. You might hear about new product launch information. You might hear from other champions about what they're doing out there in the community, specialized 3D swim communities for champions. But we also wanted to connect you closer to the things we do here at SolidWorks. And there's so many opportunities that we give to our best and brightest, our champions to do that. One of those that we try to showcase whenever applicable is even having your data set featured for R&D and product introduction purposes.
I'm a big fan of the Champions program because that's the first place I went months and months ago when our team was like, who are we going to feature for 22 launch? And obviously we ended up with the Nemo, but through the Champions program is how I found our next guest and got connected. Apply now. If you guys are involved, you really want to be part of the best, be a champion. I see some folks in the chat. Todd, Yaya, Luis, awesome champion. Adam, champion. Throw a champion in there if you are one or you want to be one. Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Really briefly talking about the ways we can get involved and how you connect us and keep us together.
Thank you, guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat. And thanks, Brian.
I'll see you soon. So I want to pivot now and talk about someone who is a champion, one of the original champions last year. In fact, this gentleman first used SolidWorks in 1998. He won an international design competition using SolidWorks in 2005. You can see he got his CSWP before the A. That's awesome because we introduced the CSWA after. And then Mike Puckett, I validated this with you, first CSWE as a customer. Guest starred 10 years ago on one of our webisodes, Let's Go Design, has been at World, has exhibited in the Partner Pavilion, champion. And then today, I'm very happy to add to your resume, Rob, being on SolidWorks Live. Thank you so much for being a special guest. Rob, can you hear me from across the pond?
Hi, Brian. Yeah, loud and clear, loud and clear. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's awesome every time we get to hear origin stories and talking us through the Nemo. I know that's been your lead project for the last over a year, you were telling me. Could we back up a sec, though? Can you introduce us quickly to U-Boat Worx as a company?
Yeah, sure. U-Boat Worx, it's a Dutch company. It's founded in 2005 by Bert Houtman. He wanted a personal submersible, but he couldn't find one, so he decided to design one himself. And we specialize in designing and producing innovative submersibles for depths of 100 to 3,000 meters and 1 to 11 people. So you will be able to do some submersible deep diving with your entire family.
I think that's incredible. And right now you're seeing a little bit of B-roll. Thank you so much for U-Boat Worx supplying that. Now, this is the Super Yacht 3. I know it's another newer design, but it's not the Nemo we've been looking at. So now let's talk about the Nemo specifically. What's different about the Nemo from a product or a business standpoint?
Yeah, until now we had 3 main product lines. It's the research subs, the cruise ship subs, and the super yacht subs. Mm-hmm. But Bert always had a vision for a more mainstream series production market sub for those without a yacht or a ship. It's the lightest and most compact submersible so far, and therefore the Nemo is much more accessible, and you can even put it on a trailer behind your car.
You mentioned that, and my yacht's in the shop, so I was looking at your nemo-submarine.com website, and I thought it was just so cool. You guys have a little 3D model of your concept in there, and then you scroll down, and there you go. There's your Nemo. Yeah, on the back of your SUV being pulled by a trailer. So smaller, compact, the size of 2 jet skis. Just a beautiful design, Rob. Congrats on the launch, if you will, next week at the Monaco Yacht Show. So as an industrial designer, tell us about the concept. Where did this all start?
Well, actually, the functionality dictated a large portion of the main shape and the proportions. And the main objective for the Nemo was the experience while diving. Okay. So we had the predefined compact outer dimensions and the mass, but we also wanted the best view possible for the pilot and the passenger. And next to that, we needed a natural water flow for maximum efficiency and speed. And of course, the shape of the sub should be balanced both submerged and while you're diving. So that was really driving the main shape and proportions.
Where I'm just showing here some of your concept sketches and then into initial concept surface models, and you can see that sphere, the hypersphere you call it. That's front and center. It's all built around that, which I guess to your point, that's the viewing experience. That's what's getting you intimate into the sea, and it's apparently crystal clear view, right? If you go down in that, you can just see all over. It's so cool.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a full acrylic sphere, so it's really crystal clear. Yeah.
I just think it's so gorgeous. I want one, but I already got a submarine. Now you mentioned this is the first series production, more mainstream. How did you approach design and manufacturing of this as more volume based versus some of your more limited production models?
Yeah, well, first of all, we used a lot of molded parts, and we used a lot of welding jigs. So the initial investment is a bit higher, but it really pays off for series production. But I think most important for series production is the easy installation and maintenance as well. And therefore, we have started using VR validation for assembly and maintenance. We use the off-the-shelf e-drawings. And it's really a great tool because physical prototyping is really expensive for products of this scale.
I remember a couple of years ago, we were talking a lot about the eDrawings VR, and we get all sorts of great feedback on it. Now, it's not exactly eDrawings VR, but if you guys go to the solidworks.com/what's new website, we have a 360 experience. So you can sit in the Nemo and see what it's like, not just the interior, but of course, that awesome view down deep inside, simulated, of course, but very cool. Rob, I want to touch on something from, the engineer inside of me wants to go back to that point about center of gravity, center of buoyancy as such an important design point. How did you use SolidWorks along the way to monitor your CG and your center of buoyancy? And side question, you have 7,000 parts. So how did you know you had modeled enough to have certainty in your CG and your center of buoyancy analysis?
Yeah, that's a good question, because one of the most important things when you're designing a submersible is getting the balance right. So you need to know the center of gravity, but the displacement as well, the center of buoyancy. So therefore, we model up to every bolt and nut, and every single part gets its true material assigned. And we use the center of gravity and displacement data provided by SolidWorks for our stability calculations.
I tell you, my whole team would probably agree. We were digging through the Nemo when you pack and goat it over, and it one of the best models we've seen. Everything has a material. You use toolbox fasteners and a lot of detail in there. So now it all makes sense. You really wanted to have that right. We also noticed we were going through some of the subassemblies and saw on the bottom some SolidWorks simulation studies set up. Like, for example, that big hypersphere, the human pressure vessel, there's a pressure study set up. So the FEA guy in me wants to ask, how did you guys use SolidWorks simulation or FEA in general for design into validation? How much did you use that?
Yeah, we use SolidWorks simulation for quite a lot for concept feasibility studies. It's really easy to use and integrated within SolidWorks, so that's really nice. And for the extensive final validations, which we also use for GMV certification, we have our in-house FAA engineers, and they work with Abacus.
Abacus, okay. Michael Steeves, I hope you heard that. He's going to come in as our last demo and talk about Abacus and the other simulation tools in our portfolio, but that's awesome. That is next level, true ultimate failure, crush buckling analysis. Really good stuff. All right, back to the design. We were seeing some questions in here. Modeling approach, we looked into your model and you used a really nice master model approach. I saw this part, you see the screenshot here, inserted at the top of a lot of your assemblies, hundreds of sketches and surfaces, but yet there's also a lot of bottom-up stuff like fasteners. How did you decide and strategize this should be master model based and this should be bottom-up?
Yeah, I've used the master model for all the composite parts. That's including the important diving tanks. And the master model, it defines the total outer shape in one solid. And it includes all the split surfaces, the interface sketches, and the interface planes. And next I import the master model into a new part with all the sketches and planes integrated. And then I can fully detail and engineer the part. It's a very robust workflow with a centralized control of the modeling within your master model.
And that's a skill, if you're just getting started with SolidWorks, definitely take the time to understand master model versus bottom up and external reference management. I saw a ton of external references, very powerful. But you also want to understand how to manage those, especially as you move into fabrication. Do you want to lock them, break them? So Rob, moving into fabrication, What did you do in SolidWorks just to make sure that you got it right the first time? Because I think you were sharing with me just this week, you're putting in the last bolt on the Nemo that's going down to the Monaco show to debut. How did you use SolidWorks to make sure it was going to be right coming back from the fabrication and assembly process?
Yeah, we used the validation tools a lot, like the interference and clearance detection to get the parts first time right. And of course, the visual VR validation for assembling, see if you can put the assembly together.
Nice.
But even if the design is right, fabrication errors, which are often due to misinterpretation of the drawings, can take a serious amount of time. Therefore, we're using a lot of custom part assembly and drawing templates with a really long list of custom properties. And they're all linked to the 2D drawings to centralize all the data that's important for the suppliers. For some suppliers, we even use their custom sheet metal bending tables for a smooth translation and avoid dimensioning.
Okay. Well, hey, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about sheet metal bend tables. I was hosting a live design episode here on YouTube with Juan, and he was talking about that exactly that. You have custom bend tables for different fabricators. And I think that's something to really emphasize here as you're learning SolidWorks, you're mastering it. Don't forget drawings. You know, we spend so much time in the 3D and you know, the cool looking stuff. But everything you're saying had a 2D print, validated, toleranced, detailed at the end of the day.
Yeah, every single part.
Every single part. So you're going to see some enhancements to drawings. John mentioned detailing mode. It's like large designer view for drawings. One of my favorites is the new geometric tolerance indicator interface. We've been waiting a couple of years for that one. That's what you're seeing on the screen. Awesome stuff, Rob. I wish we had more time. I'm getting the cue that we got to move on. And our next guest, maybe you want to stick around for this. Our next guest is my team's industrial designer, Jordan TADI쪼, and he's going to show off a tool called 3D Sculptor or X-Shape. Rob, I'm wondering, have you played around with this at all?
No, not yet, but I have access to it through the Champions program, but I was quite busy with the Nemo last week, so I didn't try it yet.
I know you were telling me that. I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to answer yes that you've played with it because, and we've kept this demo secret from you because we want to see what you think for real, authentically today. Jordan, hey, are you there?
Yes, I am. And a little nervous because I know, like you mentioned, Rob hasn't seen my design, which is kind of like a reimagination of how you would have done the concept design in X-Shape, our fully cloud-based design software. So I really hope you like it. I've been a big fan of you for a long time, Rob, and I love the Nemo design. It looks so cool, especially on that trailer right behind the SUV. I want one. All right, so let's jump in, and I'll show you what I came up with for my workflow. It's a great tool, and Rob, you actually confirmed my workflow a bit when you showed that master modeling approach, because that's exactly the same approach that I'm taking here. It's only that we're not using a master sketch. We're creating that master 3D shape inside of X-Shape itself. There's two characters involved in my little story. The industrial designer on the left, that's pretty much you, Rob, and mechanical designer on the right, which we'll get to in a little bit. So of course, this is a cloud-based tool, so you can use it on any device, which is very foreign to SolidWorks users, being able to jump right onto an Apple MacBook even. And of course, there's so many different ways that you could start off a concept design. In this case, we have the frame already in progress. So designing around it, that was designed in SolidWorks. So of course, you could bring that right into the 3D experience platform and use that as a reference. Rob, you mentioned hand sketches as well. So we could certainly insert those into X-Shape as well as a reference. But something I've been arguing is you can really skip both of those steps and just start creating the 3D shape, transferring your ideas to a 3D shape instantaneously in X-Shape because it's that easy and that quick and responsive. Now, where subdivisional modeling gets its name from is the 3D shape that we're working with, like a digital hunk of clay, is subdivided into chunks. And depending on how many subdivisions you have, the more control you have over the model. So it's kind of like the spline tool in SolidWorks. You want to start with less rather than more, so because you could always add detail later on. Now, the main UI element is the robot. That's an on-screen manipulator right here. And everything that we do, translate, rotate, or scale, takes respect to the location of the robot. So by dragging it over to the left-hand side of the screen, we can go ahead and scale with respect to that left edge, keeping it stationary to match the overall length of my hand sketch that I have in here. Now, the other half of the battle is selecting the geometry. So we have all kinds of shortcuts for that, including holding the shift key down to select entire chains or loops of edges surrounding the model, which is really easy to do. Now, everything's a C2 level of curvature continuity, which I'm sure Rob is very aware of with all of his master surfacing skills. Those nice smooth transitions from one surface to another, but you can crease the edges if you want to. And in fact, you can smooth a creased edge as well if you wanted to with a little slider to kind of like a conic fillet, the surface modelers would know it as, but it's just so easy to do in X-Shape. Now, remember, it's a cloud-based tool, so this is happening on any browser, on any device, including a tablet if you wanted to. So taking advantage of really cool UI elements like the ability to swipe your finger across a screen or sketch pen stylus across the screen to automatically snap all those points directly to it, it really doesn't get any easier than that. So jumping around to different few views and moving things around, you can see how intuitive this is, and it really doesn't take any time at all to learn a software like this. Now, in this case, I have an angled face, and I have that angled planar face exactly where I need it to be, but I need to change the shape of it a little bit. So again, I can drag that robot onto the edge. The triad realigns itself so that it's perfectly in line with that edge. And I can now translate it in a very precise manner, not only in the direction, but also the distance with the on-screen ruler that I can snap to. So there is a high level of precision in X-Shape. Even though it's such a free-form modeling environment, you can really obtain a lot of precision and exactness with your model. So the side portion of it is pretty much wrapped up in just a couple of minutes. Now we have to make the hood of the design as well. And again, I called this like a digital hunk of clay. So we're just going to take another digital hunk of clay and smash it right onto the top so that we have more material that we can move around. And of course, everything is done with the context toolbar. So I know all the SolidWorks users love SolidWorks because of the very intelligent context toolbar, always thinking ahead of us. So picking on a plane will recommend the symmetry command. And of course, the symmetry command will keep that model symmetric no matter what you do to either side of it. So it's super simple. The top of the hood needs to be perfectly horizontal. So one of my favorite tools for that is the align to line command, where I can snap and infer to the horizontal or vertical alignment, so I can know that that's perfectly in place. And the other thing to take note of is that everything is happening live. I'm not having to make changes to, feature tree and waiting for it to rebuild or anything like that. And as soon as I need more detail, like right here in the design, I can insert more loops as I need them. Like I mentioned with the spline, you can always add spline points. That's exactly what we're doing right here. So I could add another vertical loop because I need to add a little scoop on the bottom of this design, and we can change the transparency so we can reference the other geometry in the model, or the hand sketches, if you will. Whichever way you're most comfortable working is the way that you can start generating a 3D shape. And finally, to blow a hole right through from the front to the back, all I need to do is pre-select a couple of faces, hit the extrude tool right from the context toolbar, and there it is. So already, that was just a few minutes, Rob. I know it's not exactly your initial design, but I think it's pretty close. And I think it's a respectable point in the design process to share with the rest of the design team and maybe get some feedback sooner than later, rather than investing so much time into a surfacing model as we might traditionally do. So what do you think, Rob? I'm really excited to hear your feedback, and I'm a little nervous. I hope you like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It looks like a huge time saver, especially in the conceptual phase of a project. And I really like the fact that it's fully integrated within the Solidworks workflow, and that's absolutely essential for us. I will definitely give it a try soon.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you like it. No doubt it's integrated with the SolidWorks workflow. And we'll even get back to an even more in-depth dive into the integration with SolidWorks a little bit later in the program. So stick around for that too. But Rob, once you do get your hands on it, give me a shout and I'll be glad to show you a few extra tips.
Cool. I will.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. And I think you're right. I think you should come back and do another demo, and we need to see how that interacts with SolidWorks and how we could use that as a master model. But amazing stuff. That is just so cool. All right, we want to see some SolidWorks 2022. It's at the heart of the 3D Experience Works portfolio. It's what a lot of us came to see. Parts, assemblies, drawings, the stuff that we touch every single day in SolidWorks. Mark Peterson, are you there? Can you hear me?
Here, Brian, I can hear you.
I hear you. All right, my friend, awesome. Let's talk about fundamentals. What's new in 2022 absolutely. That we're going to be touching every single day?
Yeah, so I just want to say that was pretty awesome to see what Jordan put together there with the sub-D modeling capabilities and 3D Sculptor. And it's great to be on the call with Rob too. It's just really cool to meet him and kind of see his reaction to that. But of course, now that we have outside shell, we got to fill everything in between. Just like Rob said earlier, there's a lot that goes into these designs. Jigs and fixtures and so forth, welded frames, high volume machine parts, low volume components. Every design team has specific challenges, and that's why SolidWorks focuses on having both a breadth and a depth of functionality. But what's most important to getting the job done is the fundamentals. So we want to work smarter and we want to work faster. So let's talk about some of these enhancements in SolidWorks 2022 that's going to help you do just that. And we're going to start with the user experience. So I've only got a few minutes, so I'm only showing a few of the many enhancements. But we're going to start with some keyboard shortcuts. And of course, we have to show you how SolidWorks performance is improved. In SolidWorks 2022, you can access every command from the S key shortcut menu. Now that Command Search is integrated into that menu, you can even customize it on the fly. These thrusters need to be mirrored across a reference plane. So instead of going to hunt for the plane, you can now just use the new Q key keyboard shortcut, which shows planes, origins, and coordinate systems temporarily. So you can use them for sketches, section views, and even features like mirror. And we can't release a new version without talking about... shortcut. Yeah. We can't talk about... Yep. We got to talk about performance. Brian, you talked about that a little bit earlier as well. We saw an improvement in our testing of about 10% faster, but that's subjective based on the model. So it could be much faster than that. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but just like you were talking about earlier, that's on top of the last 3 years of improvements. And, it just keep blowing me away that we get more and more, performance out of the software. No need to upgrade your hardware or anything like that. No expensive upgrades. You can just save yourself a bunch of time every time you pan, zoom, and rotate your model. It's really amazing. So, but yeah, so that's there's a lot more, but again, limited time. So I'm going to tease a few more things at the end, but let's move on to parts. So in the 2022 release, SolidWorks is introducing hybrid modeling. This is where you can directly edit mesh B-rep bodies just like you would a native SolidWorks part. So, you'll also see here the stud wizard in action, which is a great way to create a stud from an existing cylindrical boss, or you can make one on the fly. And now you can mirror across 2 planes. So these mesh B-rep files here can be sourced from the internet or 3D scan data, sometimes vendor websites, but editing these files in the past used to require separate bodies with Boolean operations, that sort of thing. Now you can edit them directly. You can chamfer an edge or extrude a sketch. You can create a cut using the hole wizard. That's working fast and that's working smart. So this actuator handle is supposed to be threaded. In SolidWorks 2022, a great way to do that is to use the new stud wizard. So this tool automatically recognizes the diameter of this boss, and it gives me a list of options for threads that would fit. You can specify an end condition, even add an undercut. cosmetic threads are automatically generated, and they can be called out in a drawing or an annotation. These bodies here need to be mirrored to each corner of the welded structure. Now in SolidWorks 2022, you can mirror across 2 planes at the same time, and that just makes this operation a breeze. Doesn't have to be planes, of course. You can use faces just like you would expect, and it's just super fast to be able to do that. No need to have 2 separate mirror features anymore. All right, so moving on to assemblies, large design review mode now lets you choose how you want to open sub-assemblies in LDR mode, lightweight, or resolve mode. So pattern-driven component pattern is more robust than ever this year, and we're introducing integrated configuration tables, which make managing configurations super easy. So when working with large design review mode, sub-assemblies and components also open in large design review mode. That's the default. So this makes navigating your projects lightning fast. However, you also have a choice of opening components in the other modes, lightweight or resolved, for example. So that gives you full control, allowing you to use the full depth of functionality of SolidWorks when you need it, or just load files quickly when you don't. Pattern-driven component pattern is more robust this year. It automatically determines the seed instance of the pattern, even if you move the component to a new location. So this makes it easier to take advantage of existing patterns and whole wizard features to quickly position several instances of a component like hardware and fasteners super quick. Also, creating configurations in SolidWorks has been improved this year. It's always been easy, but in 2022, managing those configurations has been vastly improved now that there's a dedicated integrated table for configurations. You can easily visualize and edit your existing configurations or even create new ones. Convenient filters allow you to drill down to only the information you need, making managing your configurations easy as well. And again, no need for Excel or anything here. You can do it right inside the SolidWorks user interface. Finally, there's nothing more fundamental than drawing. So in SolidWorks 2022, you can work fast with improvements to detailing mode, the geometric tolerance interface, and bills of materials. And I didn't mention this in the last segment, but you can open drawings in detailing mode from LDR mode. So that's a great time saver. Detailing mode allows you to work on massive drawing files without having to load the parts or assemblies. You can add and edit notes, snap in a missing balloon, organize sheets, add dimensions, that sort of thing. New in 2022, you can insert whole table and standard views from the view palette. Also in SolidWorks 2022, you have the ability to open any prior version drawing using detailing mode. You don't even need the reference models on your machine. Finally, 2022 introduces a brand new interface to define geometric tolerance indicators. This is a very intuitive and step-by-step input way of getting your GTOL on your drawings. It's easier than ever, and just a breath of fresh air. If you use GTOL a lot, you're going to love this. So. Okay, so that's kind of my time, and it was short, but there's a lot more to discover. What I need you to do is go sign up for your Resellers What's New event, and they're going to reveal dozens more amazing enhancements. They're going to go into more detail on the enhancements that I just showed as well. And you're going to be exposed to like maybe potentially some new technology, like maybe 3D printer, 3D scanner technologies, maybe participate in a giveaway or a raffle and a bunch more, network with fellow, SolidWorks users, that sort of thing. So you don't want to miss those. Check out the URL at the top of the screen, sign up for those. So Brian.
We'll show that URL a few more times. I was just looking at the chat. Q key. Some folks don't have that map. So yeah, Q, it's a new shortcut. Now the S key command search, one thing I like about that, it is definitely our team's favorite. There's a little plus button. So if you search for something, hit plus and it adds it right to your S key. Because we always say, customize your S key in each of the environments. I love what you showed so much. I agree. There's a lot more that you couldn't fit into the time I had to limit you to, but anything else you want to mention, like a favorite feature you didn't get a chance to show?
Yeah, so for me, I've used Pack and Go so much in the past. I really enjoy the improvements to Pack and Go this year. So one, there's a progress bar, and that's great because if you're trying to use Pack and Go to gather up all of the references of a large assembly, you can imagine like the Nemo assembly, thousands of parts. That progress bar is really nice to have there. So it gives you at least an indication that the computer's still processing things are going. But it also supports save bodies and split parts commands now. So if you use those commands on a part file, maybe you're creating, injection molded parts, something like that. That's really useful too. So, you can see those references, you can pack and go those references as well. So to me, I think that's a huge improvement. I love it.
That's perfect. Oh, Jeff also likes the mirror with 2 planes. I think everyone's going to discover that as they go. The quad mirror, as our friend Mac put it. Cam loves the GD&T, the new indicator interface. It's awesome. And it works in drawings as well as 3D in MBD if you're using that. It also has additional rule checking if you are in 3D. Mark, thanks for taking the time putting together that super compressed view. I know that's harder than it looks to keep short. Thank you so much. I want to transition and go back to Jordan, and he needs to address kind of that elephant in the room. You did some great sub-D modeling with 3D Sculptor. How does that work with SolidWorks? And more broadly, we know that a lot of our users are using shared storage, Dropbox, Google Drive for their precious CAD files. Over the last year, we've all had to adapt. So can you talk to us a little bit both about how does Sculptor work with our desktop 2022? And is there a better way we can use an out-of-the-box cloud data management solution?
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for the setup there. That's exactly what I'm going to show and address. The question is, now that we've created that really cool body design, how do we use it in SolidWorks? And how do we go back and forth between the two? So that's exactly what I want to show you. And of course, too, the constant question of data management. Is it necessary? Is it for me? There's all kinds of fundamental things that every 3D designer really needs accomplished and doesn't need the headache of. For example, collaborating with other people. So in this case, we have Don, the mechanical engineer, working with Dan, the industrial designer that I introduced in the last little chapter. And Don's going to continue on the design on his desktop in SolidWorks, updating the frame assembly, right? So the first thing that he wants to do is make sure that no one else is going to be working on the subassemblies at the same time as him and overwriting his work potentially. So very quickly, right from the task pane, all of this is integrated in, and he can right click on those subassemblies and reserve them. So now there's no stepping on each other's toes and things like that. Searching right in the task pane searches the entire database of CAD files that have been uploaded to the 3D Experience platform, and you could just drag and drop the results right into the SolidWorks graphics area to start modeling and mating them in place. So what we've done so far very quickly is just added a hatch assembly and some propellers to the propulsion subassembly as well. Right away, we can see a notification in the task pane that the version we have locally is not the same as the version on the cloud. So we need to save our changes to the cloud to synchronize them. And right after this happens, everyone else on the Nemo design team is going to have access to those updated files. And we get the visual confirmation right there. So we know everyone's on the latest and greatest version. Yeah. So the other thing you might be wondering, as we alluded to, is what about the shape, the body shape design that I designed in X shape? Well, we can search for that as well and drag and drop it right into SolidWorks too. So putting it right into the assembly, we can check for interferences and make sure everything fits correctly. And, Dan, the mechanical designer can get an idea of what he needs to notify Dan about, the industrial designer, to update the design with. So he can post that to a community. He can make those markups right in our 3D Play 3D Preview app. And it's not too soon to start adding downstream features too. This is really important because, again, like the master model approach, we've designed the shape in X shape, but we can add all the detail features that we want downstream in the feature tree inside of SolidWorks. So shelling it out, cutting clearances, adding ribs, and so forth. This is a watertight, no pun intended, model that comes in, solid model that comes in from X-Shape. And in SolidWorks, you can add any feature that you want to for downstream needs for operations and manufacturing and so forth. So you could see how easy it is to connect the two design worlds together into a unified experience. And there's no doubt that really cool tools like X-Shape are so easy to add and update into your toolbox. There's no reason not to do it, right, Brian? So I think this is a really cool workflow, very, very convenient and easy to adopt.
It makes sense. You know, when your product definition is based on the 3D Experience Cloud, you know, you could have SolidWorks parts, you could have X-Shape parts, you could have CATIA parts. It all comes together to that unified product definition. Definitely learn more about that. You know, the other thing that this does that you showed, there's all in the task pane, right? Everything you were doing, whether it was the previewing, the markup. So I think that's important. I think a lot of us know that we need to be more diligent about our file management. Maybe we think of it a lot like the dentist, which I was able to cancel because of COVID last year. I don't know if I can do that again this year, but it's not that bad. And by the way, it's not just an out-of-the-box cloud data management solution that's a lot better than a cloud storage unnamed competitor.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
once it's up in the platform, you can do everything with it.
Yeah, think about like the headaches that we all have all the time. We have part files being referenced by drawing files and assembly files, and drawing files referencing assembly files, and the names and the file locations and all that stuff. Everything on the 3D Experience platform is being uploaded to the cloud in a database. So every file name change that you make and any relocation of a file, everything is aware of it. So there's never a file reference broken. That's the most fundamental thing that is the biggest weight off of my shoulders when I'm designing, especially in the conceptual phase when there's so many changes. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah, and then out of the box, just maturity, revision, you know, control, all that good stuff. And even if you're using SolidWorks PDM, we see a lot of folks who maybe want to spin up a satellite group with a super low cost deploy, and you don't want to maybe make them a vault, or they're working off site. You can spin them up, you know, a collaborative space, connect them to the platform. So I think it's 100%. It's so exciting. There's so much to explore. By the way, I saw a question come in. Sorry I haven't answered it yet. From Vadi, will there be 5-axis machining in SolidWorks CAM? No, probably not. You know, SolidWorks CAM is great desktop tool, but think about it this way. Dassault Systèmes has over a dozen brands, one of which is Delmia. So here's the thing. You're working in SolidWorks, you're working in X-Shape, your product definition is saved up through the cloud data management. Now, any of the other tools across the entire 3D Experience portfolio can access it, like Delmia. We recently introduced this year NC Shop Floor Programmer role, which is 2.5-axis, 3-axis, wire EDM out of the box. And there's a huge list of roles where you can step up all the way to 5-axis and beyond. And again, best-in-class tool set. SolidWorks is amazing at CAD. We'll always be the leader there. Are we the best at CAM? There might be other R&D groups in Dassault that are better. By the way, I think we have over 7,000 developers. Someone will have to fact check me. That was the last number I saw in Dassault. So obviously we want to leverage them. That's what the platform lets us do. Okay, everyone's getting antsy. They want to see more, just SolidWorks 2022. Of course, we all do. I want to introduce our next special guest, Andrew Gross from LA. Hey, can you hear me, Andrew?
Hey, I can. How's it going, Brian?
Good. Awesome, man. Hey, looking sharp. I'm glad the sun is up. I know you're up early this morning getting connected. Hey,
yeah. West Coast early time.
Yeah, man, I love it. Let's go back. SolidWorks, just fundamentals, build on that. You know, we've done our design. We're towards the end. We want to bring it to life, make it look good, make sure it's safe. Tell us what we can do to bring the Nemo to life.
Yeah, well, you know, with high performance graphics, realistic CAD rendering, powerful simulation, we really can bring our designs to life. So what was really cool was listening to how Rob uses tools like simulation early in the design process to really guide his design. It's really neat. So we're going to talk about just a few places where SolidWorks 2022 has some pretty awesome new enhancements. So we talked to John SWEENEY. How cool was that when he was telling us about advancements to the render pipeline, thing about silhouette edges, now being able to access our graphics card Lots of cool stuff like that in SolidWorks 2022. But let's go and take a look at some other things in graphics. So a couple years ago, we introduced 3D textures. It's just a really, really cool way to add these really complex textures to faces or entire bodies, but it's extremely lightweight. Again, we're talking about graphics pipeline, offloading things to our graphics cards. Now 3D textures, a lot of that is being worked on our graphics cards. So they're even easier to edit, easier to create, easier to visualize. And we can also take a look at cosmetic threads. So one thing that you'll notice about cosmetic threads in SolidWorks 2022, they just look awesome. They look great. And part of the reason, again, it's texture-based. We're using the textures and the appearances of the original parts, and that's why they look so good. These new cosmetic threads are going to be parts of Hole Wizard and using the new stud feature. Really, really cool stuff. So we can't talk about high performance graphics without talking about Visualize. So Visualize, a leading CAD rendering tool for many years now. There's some really cool stuff here, and I really can't wait to show a couple of these things. So using an HDRI image is a great way to get reflections, lighting, shadows from an environment, but it's a really common workflow to bring in a backplate, right? So say we want to put our Nemo, we want the lighting of the HDRI, but maybe put it on the deck of this yacht. It makes a lot of sense. What's always been difficult is to line up the focal range of the backplate with our model. That's tough. But now in Visualize 2022, we can use this match camera tool, use things like the lines of the horizon or other foreshortened lines or edges in our backplate to get that perfect focal range basically automatically dialed in for us. It's pretty slick. So again, using HDRI image, we can rotate that image so it matches, the shadows match the backplate. That's cool. But pretty soon we see there's kind of a big problem over here. That shadow is cutting right through that wall. Well, new in SolidWorks Visualize 2022, we can create an invisible shadow catcher just by using standard primitive geometry. In this case, we have a wall that's going to catch that shadow, and then we make it invisible, and we can watch as that shadow just moves right up that wall. I mean, look how realistic that looks. So cool.
That's
so
awesome,
before
man.
we render, yeah, isn't that awesome? So before we render our geometry, we might want to test how it functions in the real world, or at least virtually, using SolidWorks simulation. So SolidWorks Simulation 2022 has some great under the hood enhancements, especially when we're talking about assemblies that have a bunch of bonded contacts like this internal frame structure for the Nemo. So this analysis was ran in SolidWorks 2021 and SolidWorks Simulation 2022. It ran 27% faster in SolidWorks Simulation 2022, saving you time when you're running analysis. I mean, as you know, that's sometimes the most frustrating part about running a study is just how long it takes to run and waiting for it to solve. So we also might want to run an analysis on this hatch. Right, we want to ensure that most people have enough arm strength to fully engage these latch fingers and lock the hatch down. Right, so this hatch really it's just a mechanism that has a wheel, has some tie rods and some locking ends. And let's run this analysis. So the first thing we might want to do is simplify our model. Right, get rid of some components. Use the fact that this has a 1/3 symmetry. We can cut it down. But now in Simulation 2022, we can even remove that tie rod and replicate it with a brand new virtual connector called the linkage rod. And it's super, super easy to use. So the first things that we'll notice that based on the choices for our ends, we can either choose vertices or cylindrical faces. And we can also choose end conditions, either fully rigid, pivotal, or spherical. So in just a few clicks, we can create this virtual connector. It's super easy. We can even choose from a list of cross-sectional geometry and add a dimension. I mean, look how quick it was to create this virtual connecting rod. Also, after we run the analysis, we can post-process and get some real specific results about this linkage rod that we created, whether it's, we can look at shear force, axial force, bending moment, torque. These are all really essential pieces of information that'll help us size this connecting rod to fit our application. So SolidWorks 2022 visualize, simulation. I mean, I think these are some really, really awesome enhancements. I know that I'll be using them over the next year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Rob mentioned how important it is to bring your design to life. You want to get it right the first time. So visualize, of course, everything you're seeing here rendered in Visualize. As a reminder, Visualize Connected, part of 3D Experience SolidWorks for makers, as well as SolidWorks 3D Experience SolidWorks Professional.
Yep.
Awesome stuff. And that linkage connector, that makes sense because let's say U-Boat Works is just buying that rod off the shelf. They don't want to mesh, run, solve it. They want to know the allowable forces to spec it. Yep. Is that kind of what you were showing?
Absolutely, because you can spec it that way, and then you can go back and order the one that you find is the correct one for your application. It makes a lot of sense.
Awesome stuff, Andrew. Thanks so much showing us again real quick. How about you? Is there something that I didn't give you enough time to show that you really wanted to include, something folks should definitely check out at their partner events?
Geez, I mean, funny enough, it's probably with SolidWorks Plastics. SolidWorks Plastics has great updates this year. And it has this new feature where you can basically create, using symmetry, you can create a virtual opposite-handed version of your model. Create a cavity for that, if that made any sense. You should go to a reseller event and check it out. I mean, there are reseller events happening all over the world. I'm sure there's ones just miles from where you live, everybody out there. Check it out. Yeah, Plastics 2022 is pretty cool. We asked all our partners this week. We did a big internal summit. We asked them, hey, your events, and a lot of them said they're going to be virtual or hybrid. So even if you don't feel like traveling, check out the website, SW2022_live events. Find an event, tune in, see the longer format, and really get in and get ahead of your colleagues on what's in 2022. Be ready for that upgrade. Totally.
All right, Andrew. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, bringing the design to life. All right. Last demo for today. We are running to the bottom of the hour. We're going to go a few minutes over, but it's so worth it. I want to bring on Michael Steeves. Michael, can you hear me?
Hey, Brian. Happy to be here.
Look good. I like your glasses. Look at that. We're twinsies. Hey, Rob had mentioned Abacus, and I think that's kind of a household name in the FEA or FEM world, as you call it, as a final validation verification tool. Tell us a little bit about what is Abacus? How does it fit into the bigger picture of what we can do in this huge simulation world that we can untap with 3D Experience?
Yeah, especially over the last couple of years, we've been talking more and more about how the Abacus technology is becoming more available and easier to use especially for SolidWorks users and really any CAD out there, leveraging the power of the 3D Experience platform. And this is part of a growing portfolio of 3D Experience works, specifically in the simulation domain. So Abacus, it's the technology under the hood of what you're about to see, but it's not just Abacus. There's other leading technologies like FE Safe, like CST, that cover more domains rather than just structural. So it's a growing portfolio. So there's a lot I really want to show you today, Brian. But I thought instead of going through all these different domains, I want to go through. Let's go for a ride. Let's jump into this Nemo virtually. And right now, that Nemo is sitting on the deck of a ship. We're going to bring it to the surface of the water. We're going to hop in, and we're going to communicate with the design. We're then going to fire up those thrusters that we saw inserted to the model just minutes ago, and use some fluid dynamics to get that propulsion to go down under. But then we got to ask, how deep is too deep? So this is where, to do this virtually, our friend Adam Analyst here is going to help out perform these simulations virtually. So that initial one, right? Well, we can see, some of the structural simulations here. The first question here is, Brian, when you and I are sitting in the Nemo, we're at the surface, we need to communicate back to the mothership. We're going to use a walkie-talkie to do this, but how well does that walkie-talkie perform inside the Nemo? And are there any interference issues? So right from the platform, we can launch CST and start setting up the simulation. So specifically with that walkie-talkie, taking a look at the different antenna designs, how well they perform for that near field and far field results. And we're able to take those results, bring them right into that full assembly of the Nemo and see how well it performs, or again, if there's any interference issues. So and like you can see there, like blue, that electromagnetic energy is not penetrating very far into the water, but up air it is. So electromagnetics, I mean, usually in simulation, right? Red is bad. In this case,
that's
red is
crazy.
good.
So that's our EM, like signal strength.
That's right. Yeah, you can think about it that way. It's the power. It's it's how well that electromagnetics is propagating through that medium. So you can see the medium is air. It's propagating really well. However, underwater, not so good. So that's where on the Nemo, once we fire up these thrusters here in a minute, that's where the Nemo relies on more acoustic underwater communication equipment. But at the surface, looks like this walkie-talkie is going to work just fine. So in terms of firing up those thrusters and getting this going, this is where we're using additional fluid dynamics solutions right on the platform with that leveraging the exact same SolidWorks geometry. And I should mention, we're leveraging that SolidWorks geometry that we saw before. It's already on the platform, which makes it easier than ever to just open these up in these other apps and perform these simulations. So taking a look, at that Nemo, we can set up that fluid dynamic study and you can do this to set up a virtual wind tunnel. We have very fine meshing capabilities to start getting into these results and post-processing them, really making it clear on how well it's going to perform. And again, this is just a taste of what we're able to do. But I do want to mention that both of these studies, while a very fine mesh is required, they were solved on the cloud. This is leveraging some very powerful computers, again, connected directly to the 3D Experience platform to take the analysis time from hours or days down to hours or minutes in some cases, leveraging up to 144 cores, really making it faster than ever to solve these complex simulations. And that means you can set up your simulation, shut down your computer, and then come back either to another computer, come back tomorrow, and just reconnect to the platform and pull down those results when they're solved. So it gives you a lot more flexibility performing these simulations. All right, Brian,
I was just gonna say that's so cool. The different physics things we never could do directly in SolidWorks desktop. Right. The EM, RF type analysis, awesome. That's great visual. But the flow, we have flow in desktop. Again, an amazing tool. In fact, Andrew made a great demo. We didn't have time to show it today. Check out the reseller event. But what we're able to do with the platform flow rolls is there's so many other physics and turbulence models and meshing that you might need to do a true external analysis, right? And that's where some of the Dassault Simulia technology, I feel, picks up where our desktop might end, right?
Definitely. So let's go deeper. The story continues on our little ride here on the Nemo. We're going to, those thrusters are powered up. We're starting to descend deeper and deeper. How deep is too deep? The Nemo is designed for 100 meters, but what does that mean for the pressure loads on the battery compartment? So that's where we're focusing on right now in this little glimpse. On the Nemo, we have battery compartments. They're actually pressure loaded internally with oil, kind of like a bicycle wheel, right? We have a counterforce there as we get deeper and deeper, but we can really in the design phase optimize some of these parameters. So selecting the dimensions of interest directly in SolidWorks, specifying them as parameters for the platform. So what this is doing is exposing that aspect of the SolidWorks design to the platform. So we saw a save earlier, we just do another save again. And then right from SolidWorks, we can start opening up our different simulation apps. So this first one has some powerful automated meshing technology where we're going to take this multi-body SolidWorks part and automatically apply a mid-surface mesh. Why mid-surface? Well, it's going to be faster to solve, and we're still able to maintain some good accuracy there. So once we have that mesh, we're able to flip over to set up our scenario or loads and boundary conditions, like the pressure load that you see here, and start to set up and run the analysis. And again, we can leverage the power of the cloud to solve this. This one was very efficient, so we can run it locally if we want. And then let's set up the parametric study. The initial design looked to be over-designed, so we can select those parameters that we exposed earlier. We can specify their bounds, how small that dimension can get versus how large, and let the computer do the rest of the work. So we can select the configurations of interest. Even the best one is selected for us. We can star the ones that we like and dive deeper in that comparison. And if we find the one that we like, we can automatically create that best configuration of the model. So we can perform additional simulations on that. We can then, make additional changes to the model or simulation setup as required, and then replace that configuration in the configuration of the final NEMO assembly design. So the story continues here. We don't have enough time to tell the whole story here, but from creating that configuration and doing additional steps like a post-buckling behavior analysis, right, when we were able to uncover how deep is too deep and where that failure is going to occur, and also how. So accomplishing that post-buckling analysis. But you can see there's a loading scenario. There's some durability and life assessment that we're doing here. That's one of the other great recent enhancements, is being able to perform a durability study or fatigue analysis based off explicit dynamic results. So we're really opening the doors here to a lot of different types of situations and types of physics that we're able to address. It's a really exciting time to be a simulation user. So to discover more about that design exploration, the durability, the worst case scenario, head to your partner's events, take a closer look and dive deeper on some of this powerful capabilities with both Simulia and SolidWorks working together with the platform.
Yeah, you mentioned explicit. That's another place where no-brainer. Abacus is the best in class. So yeah, there's so much more to your demo that I already got to see. Michael, that's amazing. And what you showed really complements, what Andrew showed in desktop SolidWorks simulation, right? It's a continuum of capabilities that you probably need if you're doing high-end product development like this. So yeah, whether you're doing design simulation, final validation, 3D Experience Works simulation portfolio's got you covered. Michael, I guess you already shared what you saw. How about this? You're also a CAD guy. Anything on the SolidWorks CAD that we didn't show that you're really excited about? It's not simulation related?
So yeah, I think when it comes back to, we talked about it earlier. You mentioned it's everyone's fan favorite, and I got to say it's mine too. It's the searching commands right in that shortcut toolbar, the S key. I'm sorry, I know that's a no-brainer, but it's one of those things where, I actually, when delivering a lot of these presentations, maybe I'll give everyone the challenge here. Every year that user interface gets better and better. I mean, you can start turning off that command manager. You can start hiding things like the feature tree, with on-screen tools like the S key, like breadcrumbs. You can leverage some of these tools built right in. You click on something, all the tools that you want are right at your fingertips. The user experience just continues to get better and better.
Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot there, Michael. Awesome. Well, that's the end of our demo time. We've gone a few minutes over. Thank you guys all for sticking around, and all my special guests. Awesome work. I'm sure everyone enjoyed getting to meet you. And I think I want to wrap up with a few thoughts on what GP said, which is what we're doing now is so much more than CAD. And, frankly, I see the chat. I know everyone loves CAD. I love CAD too. And again, we're saving a lot of that awesome demo and that content for your resellers to share with you. We want to make sure that we do our job to expose you to the future. What are the horizons that you need to grow on? And if you think about it, if you want to be a well-rounded product engineer, analyst, manufacturing engineer, you want the best-in-class technology. And that's what we all have access to in a way that snaps on, directly integrates to your SolidWorks. So definitely challenge yourself, pick up a new product, get deeper into the capabilities and see what kind of value. And I get it. There's another comment. Hey, there's a lot of products. Yeah, there's a lot of capabilities, but there's a lot of things we need to do as engineers. Hey, that's where our partners come in handy, right? Talk to your account manager, talk to the AE that you know, go on the community, tell us what challenges you have, let us guide you. Because yeah, it's daunting, but that's our job. That's why we're here, is to guide you, enable you, get you started, make you the absolute best supercharged engineer that you can be. So all your products come to market as brilliantly as the Nemo. Rob, Worx, thanks so much again for letting us leverage your Nemo. We wish you truly the best of luck next week in your launch. Thank you for everyone sticking around or rewatching this. Please make sure and check out what's next in the What's New season, which is your local partner events. We'll leave that up there as we close. That's all from me. Thanks, everyone. That was What's New in 2022.